We are surrounded by messages of how people are doing things right and wrong, how people are violent or loving, good or bad, right or wrong. And when it comes down to it, with the nervous system, we can see very clearly that all human behavior is a reflection of or not even a reflection, it's an externalization of the nervous system state. And the nervous system is wired not to promote community, not from the standpoint of unconditional love, not to support the greatest good for everyone. The nervous system is wired for self-preservation, and when it really comes down to it, it's around reproduction and life, living long enough to reproduce so that the species survives. And so this connection with behavior and morality is actually, it's just, there's not a lot of truth to it in terms of how the biology functions and how people have access to choice making when they're truly scared or when they're feeling that their life is threatened. And that's different for every individual. The beautiful addition to that is that there is some sort of unconditional love that exists within us all and is the, mycelium network that connects us all. Our access to it is affected by our nervous system state. And so, despite the fact that we are autonomically, informed, or some might say controlled by our nervous system state, we can bring in this unconditional love, whether you want to call it higher self, higher power, your team, your guides, your intuition, your connection with God or gods, your destiny, what you want to be remembered for, your legacy, higher power. It doesn't matter what you call it, but there is something that connects us all in this unexplainable, unconditional love. And that's where generosity and contribution and compassion come from. And we've all experienced that. Some of us have experienced it in greater amounts and some less. But it's something that's cultivated. And that's why, spiritual seekers are people who spend a lot of time in solitude, in nature, in meditation, in prayer, in contemplation. And those folks, what they're doing is they're supporting their nervous system so that it has the capacity to connect with that interconnectivity of unconditional love that exists. We're all hooked up to it. We're wired for that as well. So we're wired for self-preservation, but we're also wired for unconditional love. And when the self feels preserved enough through, through this inner work, through self-inquiry, through dealing with attachments, through acknowledging and grieving that we don't have true control over life or death, that has been decided for us. And when we come into acceptance around the suffering and the pain that is a part of this human experience, we support the nervous system in allowing access or having the capacity to allow access to that unconditional love. So there is not a goodness or a badness, but there's just a question of capacity. And that capacity can be impacted by the way that we interact with life. I think that's all on that. I love you.